From the very conception of mankind, the sole purpose of any educational institution has been to prepare those who study from it to survive and thrive in the world as it exists at that point of time. A child in medieval England may have learned how to speak Latin and read a sundial, while a student in ancient Egypt may have learned how to read hieroglyphs to become a scribe. What we teach our children has always depended on the world around us. And the world around us now is changing. With the introduction of artificial intelligence, our world and hence our economy will change completely. And therefore, it is imperative that we also change what we teach our children to give them the skills they need to occupy the jobs of the future. To discuss more about the future of jobs and skills in an AI-driven economy, we have a panel discussion brought to you by International Baccalaureate.
We would first like to invite the moderator for this panel discussion, Mr. Shashikant Vishwakarma. He is an experienced business development professional with over a decade of experience in the education sector and has a particular focus on working with schools interested in offering international curriculum in India and has a good experience with it.
We request sir to please ascend the stage. Moving further, for our first panelist, we would like to invite Mr. Himmat Dhillon. Mr. Himmat has a knack for positive transformation and being a multifaceted personality. He has been a contributor to numerous projects and initiatives that have collected accolades for the institutions that he has served as a leader. He enables initiatives that empower children to excel academically and also encourages them constantly to shine in their co-curricular and sporting activities. We request sir to please ascend the stage.
Further, for our second panelist, we would like to invite Ms. Urvashi Warman. Ms. Urvashi Warman, who started as a Montessori teacher in 1990 and went on to become the principal of the Palace School in 2007, is a visionary educator with more than 2 decades of experience in the field of education.
Then, for our third panelist, we would like to invite to the stage Colonel Sathya Rao. Colonel Sathya has a silver medal from the Officers Training Academy of Chennai and is an ex-army officer. And currently, he's a director at the Indus School of Leadership. Please, ma'am and sir, would you please ascend the stage? Ma'am is already here. Colonel Sathya, sir, please. And finally, for our fourth panelist, we would like to invite Dr. Amlan Saha. Dr. Amlan Saha is the principal and member secretary of the Sagar School. With over 22 years in the field of education, Dr. Amlan K. Saha brings with him a wealth of knowledge and experience. A doctor of philosophy, zoology, Sir has been in pivotal membership positions in various organizations like Round Square, Indian Public Schools Conference, Council for the Indian School Certificate, and AFS. As we request, sir. Thank you so much. Over to you, ladies and gentlemen. Please continue.
I just want to say that I've shifted from Indus to the Narayana Education Group recently, and I'm a director at the international schools there. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I'm Shashikant Vishwakarma, representing International Baccalaureate, India and South Asia. First of all, I would like to thank you, Ravi, for inviting us and have a distinguished panelist over here. And all the people and all the educationists who are present over here, thank you so much for being here. As we move forward, AI is a topic wherein everyone wants to know what the future would be like. How, as an educationist, you are going to prepare your students. What are the job skills which will be required to compete in the market? How the industries are changing, how the education landscape is changing. So everything is here, but again, we need to look at it, AI, that whether it is going to be a threat or We need to embrace it. So looking at the topic here, the future of jobs and skills, what we require for the students to prepare them, I would like to ask my panelists as well to throw some lights on the topic and let the discussion begin with. So any one of you can start with now.
Right. Well, the purpose of education is to prepare for the future we do not know. To be life ready, future generations have to reskill and reinvent themselves continuously. The focus, I feel, is creativity, discovering one's potential, ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn, and lastly is to make children human. I think that is what we look at. Well, with the pronounced shift of the content knowledge to competencies, teachers must re-roll themselves to teach the child and not the subject. Teaching a child is a collaborative effort between the teacher, the student, and technology. Technology facilitates the collaboration by taking over the repetitive and routine tasks, thus enabling the teacher to have more time with the child and herself. Technology also will provide immersive creative and learning experiences for better conceptual understanding and creativity. That's my understanding. And with the AI coming in, and how do we link this is a challenge, which I think as we move further in our discussions, we will get to know how we could do that.
Amlan, sir.
Morning, all of you. Thank you, Shashi sir, and Ravi sir, thank you so much for the conference. Moving straight to the topic, AI impact in the job scenario which is coming up. To be very honest, thinking about change is the only constant. You have already taken into consideration AI into your life, and you cannot ignore that. This morning, the first WhatsApp you have made, while you started typing it, it started showing the 3 options underneath. That's AI in your daily life. Those delegates who came by flight to Jaipur yesterday, unknown to you, half of the flight time was in autopilot mode, taking AI into consideration. Now, when you look at the job's impact, let me take it up into 3 categories. What are those areas what are going to be impacted, at least in next couple of years? To say that anything which has got a repetitive mode will definitely going to get impacted by AI. There is no way out. Which will source some sort of data, and it's going to analyze and then reproduce something which has got a repetition in nature. Even you can consider the school leaders, the job of your secretary, for that matter. All these things will be greatly impacted by AI in the days to come, and you cannot move out of that. Where it's not going to be impacted probably, as it was told at the very beginning during the keynote address, which is of novel nature, which has got humanity involved, which has got the thinking process to some extent, that's not going to be impacted in the immediate future. AI hasn't reached there because AI is created by the human beings. The second point which I would like to point out, when is it going to be impacted? It has already started. A particular sector, if you consider in the industry, the driving sector, consider about Tesla auto drive cars, it has already started taking that impact, and the industry is moving in that particular direction. Another industry which is coming up in a big way, probably in next 5 to 7 years, it will have a huge impact, that is healthcare. There will be a lot of involvement of AI in that particular aspect. The third factor which is important to know, where is it going to be impacted? Here is a big question for us. As Ratna sir was talking about the economy shifting toward the east, probably we have got a better chance. To give you a very simple example, I just mentioned about the Tesla auto-driving cars. You can think about that is possible to happen, that AI implication in San Francisco, but with Mumbai traffic, it's still far away to have that particular AI impact. Also, involving AI will require a lot of economic flow. That country or from the government sector, that investment has to come to take AI to that extent. Otherwise, that impact is not going to come in the job sector. So I will stop at this stage. Maybe in the next sector, I will come back once again.
Sure, sir.
So I think when we look at the job impact as we are talking of, and when we look at the scenario, what is happening in the school, what I feel is that we really need to now rethink and re-strategize as to how we are going to do our curriculum transaction and what is going to be transacted within the classrooms. Are we still willing to stay on with first period getting over, the second one coming in, second one getting over, third one coming in? Or are we looking at a more open option? Because what we are doing today, as of now, of course change is coming in, is we are still preparing our children for the jobs which we know are there in the market. But they're most probably, they're going to be redundant, say 10 years down the line. We really don't know. The student who's passing out of grade 12 today, what field is he going to be in? The student who is sitting for the NEET examination and preparing to become, do his MBBS, probably become a surgeon, may no longer be required because the robotics have come into surgery. So what we have to do is prepare the children to be flexible and ready to get into a very, very unknown future. Because as we see, AI is taking over. And for that, it's very important for children, the school starts preparing children for their soft skills, to make them prepared with their 21st century skills, be it the critical thinking skill or the skill, problem solving skill, because it is these skills which are going to see them through this very, very uncertain future. Maybe as schools, what we can do is give them situations, case studies, discussions, where there is a blend of technology and the human ethical concern, especially ethics. I would say one has to go very, very deep into ethics where dealing with technology today and AI is concerned. So give them situations wherein they need to work upon technology-driven solutions, but also keeping the human factor in mind. Also discussing the pros and cons. Maybe helping them to discuss, to take discussions taking in for those technology-driven solutions wherein we need to understand that how those decisions which are driven by AI are going to impact us. Because it's after all a coding set in, not really, that's my understanding, I could be wrong. But it's a coding set in which is not really to give in to a human concern at the last minute where it is required. So these are things which I think we at school level should start working on and preparing the children for.
Thank you, Urvashi ma'am, for highlighting these skill sets, what the students are now required to compete in this fast-paced technological advancement scenario. Now moving ahead to Himmat sir, may I have your views? What do you think about the skill set, the main and core skill set which is required for the students to embed in themselves, and you as a school leader, how you are going to embrace it?
Thank you for the honor of asking and for inviting me on the panel. Now, the first thing is we are talking about a future that will come. Even as we are talking, the future is reaching us. But the critical point is no one knows exactly what that future is. For example, look at ChatGPT. It's the rage. Everyone is raving about it. But 9 months ago, how many people in this hall had heard about that? Question mark. You don't have to answer it. Yes. In the last winter, it was a rage. And yes, there were nieces and nephews of mine who were sitting in the West, and they were no longer coding. They were using ChatGPT for their code. But did anyone question where that code would lead? Question mark. Anyone who knows anything about computers would know about AND or gates. These are gates that control a flow, not only of information, also consequence. When Fukushima happened, how many robos helped? 0. Today, if Fukushima were to happen again, God forbid, and they had 1 million robos helping, would the robo save the plant or human lives? Question mark. Would the robo save itself? Which is where what Ma'am Urvashi just said comes in very handy, ethics. Which is where the human factor comes in. I'll give you a real life scenario. Today, in the hills, there's a dam. It's malfunctioning. Machines are not fixing it. We have the technology, but human beings are fixing it. Closer home in Delhi, when a barrage did not open, the engineers fixed it. Army engineers fixed it. No machines were used. There was a success. So the point I'm trying to make is very simple. You cannot leave everything to machines. It will dumb us down. You can't only use AI. Of course, use it for good. But the moment you only use AI, the future of our entire species is threatened because we will not be intelligent anymore. The reason we are successful as a species, the reason why you don't have chimps and apes sitting here, is simply because we have the intelligence to make the right decision at the right time. And of course, we've been wrong many times. History is a witness to that. But the point is, the moment the human factor, the humanity in us is allowed to take control, the world will be a better place. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your views, sir.
Well, I would say, since the metaverse has arrived, and what we see when we read and memorize content, we retain it just 10%. But when we are part of the immersive experience in virtual reality, the retention increases phenomenally to 75%. That is what. And today, the two skills, or what we would look forward to, is the culture of innovation, I think, which need to be in every school. And the second one is the data-driven leadership. I think we all have to be data-minded. And this is how the AI is linked towards these two, that is the data-driven leadership and the culture of innovation.
That's very true, because I think in school, if we are looking at AI-driven technologies to be used, it's very important now that we start imbibing AI-driven technology to do our teaching, curriculum transactions, our administrative work, which is being driven by AI, because things get much easier. We save on a lot of time and energy. It's so much easier to collate a whole series of data which come our way. Sometimes we just keep collecting data and we really don't have the time and the energy to make sense of it. But yes, thanks to AI, it is possible. And because we can summarize the data, take out and analyze it, and get our conclusions easily with these AI-driven technologies, of course, the decision making will also change accordingly, which I think will enhance the work culture everywhere, in all across, cutting across all institutes, whether educational or not. So there are plus points. But it's very, very important, I think, that while using these technologies and when training our children to do it, again, as Sir said, ethics have to be spoken of time and again. That is like very, very important. And I think we need to have proper legislation in place where we draw the line, what is permitted, what is not. Because I think as yet, proper legislations are still not in place. We are still in nascent waters right now.
Thank you, ma'am. So we all are talking about the ethical parameters. What should be considered, what should be not. How we can take these ethical considerations and how we can incorporate this to our books as well, so that the students should know that whether they will be moving in a right direction or not. AI have a lot of advantages and disadvantages. But the point is how to control it. So my question is, what kind of ethical parameters as an educationist you are looking at for the students wherein you can control it or you can open it to them but with a limited control? So any of you can answer.
So the genie's out of the bottle, you can't put it back now. So regarding control, well, it's already controlling us. For example, one's phone knows where you are. Possibly some people have remote access to cameras and things on phones, laptops, etc. So it's already controlling society. But the fact is, there's something called being a good citizen, and even in the digital world, there has to be good citizenship. The other thing is, today, it's very easy to get an overload of the virtual world. For example, Colonel Rao just spoke about the metaverse. We are already living in it. It's not that we need to migrate. If you're on social media, WhatsApp, etc., we've already got avatars there and things. So the point is, we're already living, whether it's a dream or nightmare, question mark, but we're already there. The only thing is, we can at least start with digital citizenship. I mean, there are courses, you can do those courses, they are free, and for every child, every educator, every parent, I would say, a digital citizenship course, so we understand a charter so that we know, and something like cyberbullying is actually more deadly than being bullied physically. So we have to be very aware of the consequences. A lot of well-being goes into it. It's about the mind. A lot of wellness goes into it. When we look at children, when we look at young adults who are depressed, the reasons are not always physical. It's not always that the home is unhappy. Sometimes it is the virtual milieu that they are living their lives in and not physically. Now we have 139 acres in Sanawar. So we look at as the campus as a curriculum. So those 139 acres, all the plants are part of your fauna, all the animals are flora. You know, I mean, for us, your animals, your plants, your basic geography. When we look at the Kasoli Ridge, is it a ridge? Is it a spur? Is there a peak there? So kids learn. They learn about weather in real life. They learn about slopes. They learn about the importance of planting trees. Just now we planted, just before I came, we planted about 500 bamboos to stabilize slopes. Before that, they were deodars, but we said lighter is better. So let's go for bamboos, looking at the weather. So the point is, you have 139 acres of a curriculum which is natural. Start with that. We also have AI labs. We also have kids who code. We have clubs like Girls Who Code. We have robotics happening. We have innovation happening. There are kids building drones. All kinds of things are happening. But first we start with what is actually happening in your life. For example, the assembly. For example, your conduct. How are you with your peers? Now, the way you are with your peers very often, that will figure the way you are in the metaverse or, you know, the virtual world. Just now I was speaking to a fellow educator about a very brilliant colleague of ours, and there was an issue. There was an early burnout, and the reason was not competencies. The reason was integrity. So I'm very happy that we have someone from the IB here. The very purpose of the IB was to recover from the Second World War. There was too much technology used for negative things. Not only the H-bomb, not only the atomic bomb, but the entire German and Japanese Axis nexus was a collaboration for evil. That is what it was. So the Nazis were at the cutting edge of technology with the Japanese, which was all used for the wrong reasons. The entire American space program, when you saw Oppenheimer, for example, and you read about it, it's from Germany. It's not really American or, you know, from the West. It's from Germany and from Japan. So all that tech for bad, that is why the IB came. That is why the UN exists. So for us, we have to start with making our kids understand what happened on the 6th of August in the 40s, what happened on the 9th, and making them think that that should never be repeated.
Absolutely, sir. And even though, just to let you know that IB is the first organization who embraces AI into the curricula. So IB want to embrace it, and this is what the purpose is. Ravi was mentioning in the initial speech that somehow AI is going to take away the jobs as well. And many of us have seen that in different industries, there are many people who have moved out or they have been asked to go out, and it has been taken over by AI. We can simply see recently that one of the news channel was also doesn't have any in-person anchor who was presenting the news. It is an AI tool. Absolutely. So, moving ahead, Urvashi ma'am, we were talking about the skill sets. What kind of skill set our student should go with, wherein they can compete in this very fast technological landscape? Like, we all are talking about critical thinkings, how we can embed it, and what are the challenges you can see further as well. So your views.
I think when we talk of skill set, what we are really focusing on is a lot of soft skills. So there has to be a lot of focus on the soft skills, because without soft skills, our kids are not going to be able to sustain wherever they are heading for. If we look at the way things are shaping up now, see what happened in Hollywood. I think we all know what happened in Hollywood a few days ago. The entire industry came to a standstill because the scriptwriters and the directors and the actors, they all were on a strike because they said AI is eating away their jobs. And nobody would have really thought about it, that a day would come to pass where a scriptwriter would get insecure, or where even an extra who's working there behind the sets is going to get insecure. And probably that is the only skill set they have. So what happens to them? So these are the real life scenarios and real life problems we need to be talking about with our children. We have to be alert as to whatever is happening around us, bring it into your classroom and have a healthy discussion, take up case studies and make the children work around it. Because there is no set solution. We cannot say that A plus A is going to be B. No, anything can happen anytime. But we need to get our children to think about various scenarios. That what if you are there tomorrow in a situation where you are working in a profession that you chose when you were stepping out of the school, going into your college, university, and suddenly you find that AI has taken your job away and you are there without anything. So what else? What can you do? So far, I think we've all been primed to think that, okay, like what is happening now? Dummy schools coming over, coaching centers coming over, because they are just preparing the children with one skill set, and that is to crack a public examination, period. After that, they have nothing to offer to the kids. So these are things which parents need to be spoken, and I think as a school we need to speak to the parents about it. Why it is important to go to school? Because it's here that the children are going to be picking up those soft skills, those critical thinking skills, which would be required to help them navigate their way through a VUCA world. Because nobody else can do it for them. There is no coaching center who can do it for them at all. So we need to start having dialogues around these things in the classroom, with the students, with the parents. Otherwise, we are not really preparing our children for something which is completely unknown to us. I don't think when we were growing up, any of us faced so much of uncertainty. What our children are facing now, and there is pressure. There is a lot of stress. So there again, skills are required, how to mitigate that pressure, how to mitigate that stress, and how to take on something how to charter unknown waters. That is what we need to do that. And it's not easy because we as adults are also not equipped. We also don't have certain skill sets with us. So probably our kids may do better than us, or than what we are doing. But for us, it's even more difficult as educators.
Right.
Absolutely.
Some of the skills which I would see in the near future and how students are going to go through this. We all know the hybrid learning is the norm now, and it has to move on further. Every student has to be in that space of online and offline because of the VUCA world, what you mentioned, ma'am. The second thing is learning designer. I mean, it's like the designers who have this creativity in their mind, and they have to come up with the new initiatives, the new creative designs all the time to stay in the market. So I think every student and teacher should look at learning processes like a designer, which will help them to bring in new innovative ideas. As we all know, the personalization, learning is a personalization. I mean, that helps every student to personalize his learning. Another major point is the concept-mindedness. Rather than, content knowledge all the time, I think concept-mindedness for everyone makes a big difference in the learning process. I would also say the students should have the coaching skills, which they could imbibe in their journey of learning. And last, I feel, is the level of empathy has to be high, for whether it's an AI scenario or whether it's a school scenario. I think a level of empathy for students and teachers have to be at a very high level.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
It's absolutely clear that empathy, ethics, soft skills, or humanity cannot be replaced by AI. But at the same time, as the educationists, as the policymakers, we have to be the facilitator for AI into our life or into the educational system. We cannot avoid it. To go more into that sector, and considering the fact AI has got a very broad spectrum. For example, you can consider DALL-E, which is creating or mix-matching the content. We have been talking about ChatGPT. We have been talking about BARD of Google. We know about the AI mixing of photograph. There are various areas where AI is impacting in the industry and in the life. So it's better not to keep it away, particularly in the STEM sector. If we can start teaching AI, whatever level it could be, but it has to be an integral component, keeping the soft skill, keeping the ethics intact, but start with AI as a course, whichever form it's possible. And then we would require persons to oversee AI, because AI is ultimately what the human is giving the content, and from there the data analysis is taking place. So it has to be overseen. And the third, you require the research personnel or the judges, or for that matter the teachers, to see that what is correct to be implemented at the end of the day. Very correctly, the whole world was shocked with one Ukraine war. Just think about if you have in future AI-driven a state head, what decision that person is going to take based on the data input what has got. So we don't want that world hitting for ultimately at the end of the day. But there are certain things which we need to be aware of. I don't know how many of you have seen even one series of one TV serial, a British TV serial called Black Mirror. They are talking about you upload your profile on Facebook, on Twitter. They are talking about, I don't want to be dead anymore. My physical body can be. I will upload my conscious into a virtual world, and it's going to be there forever. That's the way, I'm not going to say that it's going to happen, but that's the way AI is thinking for future. But above all, there is nothing to be threatened at the end of the day. It's a part of technology. When you start AI-driven jobs or do anything like that, believe me, there will be a lot of new opportunities coming up. If you want to set up a factory for producing cars, you require the laborers and other persons to set up the factory in the first place. So to put AI in its place, you require those job setters in the market. So that would be a huge plus point of AI coming into the picture. Yes, that graph will come down slowly, but at the end of the day, AI is going to be integrated and will be helpful. So for us, at the school level, it has to be an integral part, but keeping intact the soft skill, the ethics, the empathy intact. AI cannot touch those factors. Thank you.
Absolutely, Amlan sir, you rightly said that we should not look at it as a threat. It is going to be an integral part. Not going to be, I would rather say it is already an integral part with our day-to-day life. AI was already there. Not now. One of the panelists was mentioning that how we see AI, I mean just when the ChatGPT got introduced in the world, then only people started talking about AI? No, it is not like that. We have seen the chatbots on different websites. AI was already there. We were already living in the AI world. But the matter of fact is, since the introduction of ChatGPT, we have started talking about it. Since the introduction of Google Bard, we have started talking about it. Now the point is how we are going to embrace it as an integral part of our life, how we are going to make a useful resource in our day-to-day life. I would like to ask from the audience as well, how many of you are using ChatGPT for your day-to-day work? I can see there are some hands, but I'm sure there are a lot of people who are already using it, but they are reluctant to raise their hand. Why? Why should we get shy of using a technology which is going to enhance our skill sets? Ratnesh sir was talking about the prompts, the gossips. We are doing gossips. The prompts are very important. We need to learn those skill sets, how to use those prompts. The students who are the key stakeholders along with the education fraternity present here. We need to understand that are these prompts are definitely going to help us in the future? Are these prompts are definitely going to help us to understand the language? Are these prompts are definitely going to help us to move ahead in the right direction? Now, another point Urvashi ma'am was also mentioning, dialogue is very important with all the key stakeholders, whether it is parents, students, teachers, the entire education community, I would rather say. So what kind of dialogues we can embrace, what kind of dialogue we can look at it so that the student should move in the right direction? Your views, sir.
Thank you. This whole thing about dialogue, this is actually the basis of teaching. And you know, in the pandemic, we had asynchronous teaching, we had virtual classes, but you could actually zone out of that unless, of course, you were the teacher, right? If you were the student. There were smart students who just put a face there, and there were others who'd say, sir, it was raining, there was a cloudburst, my net was down. But the point is, what you just said right now is very important for two reasons. The first is, the machines are learning. Why should humans be left behind? That's my first question. Whether it's chess, whether it's strategy, whether it's how to make a device that will cause a huge detonation, machines are learning in real time. They're learning from us. They're analyzing this. This whole thing about big data, humans might find it a chore to go through. A machine doesn't find things to be boring, dull. It likes repetitive things. It likes patterns. So the point I'm making is very simple. If the machines are learning, why should we be left behind? Now, some of my esteemed panelists spoke about skills. I totally second that. I would say coding is important for youth today. I would say knowing about AI, knowing about the IoT and making devices which will do good tasks in the real world is very important. But the fact is, we first have to make sure that our kids are curious. The students should want to learn. That's the first thing. This is where something as simple as joyful learning comes in. Now, pleasure is very important for any human being and any animal actually. But the greatest pleasure is through a good idea being understood. When something clicks, the dopamine release or whatever the neurons are living on is something which will make us want to do more. So my first point is, if you're talking about skills, if you're talking about students, the first thing is, let them be curious, let them enjoy their learning, and keep in mind a very simple thing. Number one, the learning. That's important. Also, like Colonel Rao spoke about unlearning, relearning, all of it is there. There are cycles of learning. Number two, working in teams. Now, whatever happens, we do not work in silos. Whether it's a school, whether it's a university, whether it is the world of work, we have to work as teams. And guess what? Our students during the pandemic who were at home, who learned virtually, the first thing they had to do was learn what a team is, learn what collaboration is. Today you can have teams, they can be working out of Hyderabad, they can be solving issues in Houston or on Mars. But the point is, without teamwork, it's zero. And the most important thing is problem solving. Now, whether it's you, whether it's me, whether it's Midas, they all have their problems. But the fact is, we need solutions. So a young person who can give you a solution would never be unemployed because there will always be issues to solve. So simple things like this, I would say, are the skills which matter in real time. And our schools, our universities, and also the places where the children will work 10 years from now, 25 years from now, they will need these skills. They will be employable. Thank you.
It's a fact that children have accepted AI in totality. It's only as many of our teachers and educators have not accepted till now. I mean, obviously, for reasons we all know that. When we talk about the dialogue or the discussion, when we talk about ethics, I think every teacher we look at should be a barefoot counselor, because that is the deeper connect we have with students. And that is how we can bring them to understand the purpose to make this world a better place. And I think that is the challenge what teachers have to, to make them understand purpose. Purpose of life, purpose of your living, and purpose of your learning. So if that could be done, I think these actions will build definitely overreaching competencies of critical thinking, innovation, collaboration, communication, and everything. So I feel we all have to be counselors at some point of time.
Yes, sir, please.
Where AI going to be incorporated or implemented, it will depend on us. I'm sure all of you have seen, many of you have seen a motor mechanic factory. And where I started, probably I will give that example. Tesla factory, if you go, you will find there is a lot of automation and involvement of AI while they are making the cars there. There is only one sector where they do not use AI. Any idea? While you are making the cars, there are fixed parts you have to fix. But there are some flexible pipes, Pramod sir, you must be supporting me in that, where they do not use any robot or AI because they know it will be more expensive. The robot cannot think in that way, the way human brain can think, and a human can probably fix it better in a car, a flexible pipe, than an AI instructed robot in that sense. So AI will be there, AI is going to be incorporated, but wherever there is the factors of human values, AI cannot replace those. And in particular, for our profession, the gurus, when you go to the classroom, there is no AI in this world, and it's not going to come so easily, which can understand the body language. If I enter the classroom in the morning and if I find that out of my 28 students, someone is looking dull, and before doing anything like that, I just go and touch, Himmat will get the message from me very clearly that yes, sir has understood. No AI can do this for us. The gurus will remain and they will have to do their work in this world considering ethics, soft skill and empathy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think you have made a very valid point. Urvashi ma'am,
Ultimately, no, I think it all boils down to the fact, who is in control? Am I in control or is AI controlling me? That's all we need to understand.
Absolutely. So here the point is, after the discussion, we talked about ethical values, we talked about the soft skills, we talked about the jobs. We have seen the changes in the job market as well. It is not traditional anymore. There are different skill sets and various skill sets which is required to do our typical jobs as well. So now I'll move the dice to the audience. If you have any questions from the panelists here. I still have 2 minutes. I'm just looking at the time as well. Yeah, so Himmat sir.
So we still have a few seconds. Now very quickly, let me just refresh your memories. A few years back, before the pandemic, before conferences like this, there was actually a paper in America which was published about employability, about the world of work. It said that no longer will people work for 25 years at Toyota or Chrysler. They'll change their jobs at least 7 times minimum. That was the minimum. Now that was before what we say is AI. Now the point is AI new question mark? I'll take you back to the Lawrence School Sanawar in the 80s. The year was 85. A boy called Arjun Singh Kochar, who was in grade 9, would use Mr. Shomi Das's Apple. That was the only computer on the hilltop, possibly one of the only ones in Himachal. Very few were there in North India. Mr. Shomi Das was a techie and he loved physics, so he had a personal computer. But this boy called Arjun Singh Kochar was using it all the time. I was sitting next to him working on the newsletter and he said, I've got an article. I said, what's it about? He said, artificial intelligence. Now in 85, if there was a kid in grade 8 or 9 who wrote about artificial intelligence, it's not new. The other thing is, plagiarism in education is not new. Academic integrity, question mark, has been debatable. Something like Turnitin, the IBUs Turnitin in the 90s when we were first trained, when Dr. Saraswat and I from the Doon School were sent for IB training, guess what? Anything plagiarized, Turnitin caught in. So AI is not new. It's just that now it is all pervasive, which is why this topic is most pertinent. And I would say we have to start with being human, with humanities, and go back to old school while being AI savvy. By that I mean, Mr. Colonel Rao just talked about concepts. We start with building on concepts. I'll give you an example. A simple formal letter could get you a few million from the Bill Gates Foundation. And guess what? Kids learn it in grade 6 or 7. Thank you.
Just the last 1 minute, 30 seconds.
I think,
Okay.
as Ravi already mentioned, that we need to be on time. Thank you so much. And I believe we have finished on time, Ravi. I'm sorry we have taken a little more seconds. Thank you so much. So let's embrace the AI and let's make it as an integral part of our day-to-day life. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to all our esteemed panelists. We would like to invite Mr. Sandeep Dutt to the stage, please.